agency, but today I'm here to speak from my heart, and I'm here to speak for justice. For over 40 years, my work has been to build relationships with people with developmental disabilities, and then to help them move from institutional living to a home of their own, a home they can call theirs, a place that they will not be evicted or terminated from if they've had a bad day and they come home and they don't feel like cooking or making their bed or doing their laundry. Instead, they can choose to take a hot bath, watch a favorite TV show, and call a friend, just like all of us want, our own home. It goes without saying that the Regional Center Purchase of Service budget cannot sustain the level of cuts that we're talking about. I'm simply wanting to ask you to listen and see my friends. Listen to their stories. Hear what is important to them. To live, work, and play as valued members of the community. The service standards they absolutely will result in some people being moved back to restrictive, segregated homes and lives. It's an absolute fact. Please remember all of our stories and see their faces when you make your decisions. Thank you. I'm here to speak for justice.
Thank you, Chair Member and members of the committee. My name is Eman Killebrew, and I come to you as a business owner and vendor of the Regional Center in Bakersfield. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I do it with a passion to be able to serve individuals with developmental disabilities. I also have group homes and supported living services to help meet these individuals' needs. My huge concern is if you're going to cut back the monies for Kern Regional Center and all the regional centers here within California, you're going to cut back our money to be able to provide adequate staffing, adequate quality of support for our individuals that we serve on a daily basis. And as I crunch the numbers and I already see the impact that I have to deal with regarding staffing, it is just a magnitude of just despair for me. And it really scares me what you guys are thinking of doing. And I sit with a lot of colleagues and a lot of individuals here, and I'm moved by all the individuals that are come up here and testified in front of you, basically pleading, please do not cut any more from this, our departments. It's not going to work if we keep cutting back. And for good agencies, and there's tons of us here, and family members, how are we going to provide that quality of service that you are looking at when you come and audit us? If you're expecting us to perform at a certain level, then you need to give us the funds to perform at that level. We're having a real challenge already with the impact, with the 4.25. And if you're going to impact us even more, I don't know exactly what you expect from us or want from us. So please consider, as a business owner, as a vendor, and the quality of service you want me to provide, please give me the funds to provide that quality of service. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Art Bolton, and I would just like to take a few minutes to put some of this in historical perspective. In the early 1960s, some parents visited the state hospitals to see what the conditions were like, and they were astounded. The conditions were terrible. At that time, we had 13,500 people in the state hospitals and a waiting list of almost 3,000 waiting to get in. And the hospitals were very overcrowded. The population in California was growing very fast, and there was a growing population of people with developmental disabilities. So these parents who had visited the hospital and were distressed by what they saw went to the newspapers. And there were headlines: California state institutions called snake pits. And the governor, at the time, Pat Brown Sr., turned to his people, various agencies, and said, this is embarrassing, we have to do something, and come up with something pretty quick for me, if you will. And so they did. They recommended that, of course, they're overcrowded. We need to build more. And that seemed to make sense. Now, mind you, at the time, the state provided for no services in the community. Not a dime of state money went to any community service for this population. But if you got into the state hospital, the state picked up the tab, and parents only had to pay $20 a month, and a lot of them didn't even pay that. So the governor said, okay, well, we'll build more. How many do we need? And they said, well, we need about 3,000 now, but keep in mind, Governor, that this population is growing, and, you know, in a few years we may have another waiting list. He said, well, we'll look at that when the time comes. And he put $47 million in his budget to build more state hospitals. Well, the families who had visited the institutions were not happy with that. That's not what they wanted. And so they went to the legislature. And they went to the Speaker of the Assembly, Jess Unruh, and they said, Mr. Unruh, we don't like what the governor's proposing. Can't the legislature do something? And Unruh, who felt strongly that the legislature needed to be an independent body and not just rubber stamp whatever the governor put forth, Unruh said, all right, well, we'll put together a committee, and a bipartisan committee, and we'll look at it. And so you had a bipartisan committee. Frank Lanterman was the Republican on the committee, and he was a conservative Republican, had been in the legislature for 15, 17 years. And anyway, this committee began to dig into the issue. I was staff to the committee at the time. And the committee looked at what was going on. And the committee did something that had never been done before. The committee went to the families who were the real experts and asked them what they wanted. They sent a questionnaire to every one of the 3,000 people on the waiting list, asking them what they wanted and why they were on the waiting list. Well, the answers they got back showed these families weren't really interested in placing their child in the state hospital, but since that was the only thing available and they were under great pressure, that's why they were on the waiting list. So the committee said, no, we're not going to approve the governor's $47 million, and we're going to find another alternative. We'll build a system in the community. We'll invent one, because there wasn't a good model anywhere. And over a 2-year period of time, the Lanterman Act was created, established, and it has grown over a period of 45 years to be the first in the nation of its kind. It's a beautiful system. It has problems. Any big system, any $4 billion system is going to have problems, and it's going to need evaluation. You need to study it. You need to fix it as you go. But you don't crush it. This $750 million proposal of the governor's, it's a job killer for one thing. I estimate that about 15,000 people will be thrown out of work who currently work in the community system. Do you really want to add 15,000 people to the unemployment ranks at this time in our state's economic situation? When the governor asked his people to give him advice about closing the budget gap, did they look at that? Did they find out how many people would be unemployed as a result? And what would the cost of that be? And how much of the savings would be offset by the increased cost of having more people, 15,000, on food stamps and welfare and those other costs for dependency? So, there are questions you need to ask that haven't been answered. Clearly, today, it was evident that the people who would be most affected were not involved in creating this budget proposal. Nobody came to them and found out what the impact would be on them. You don't know what the impact will be on them. They're scared, and they have a right to be. And you don't know what the impact would be. It seems to me you want to find out these things before you approve what I consider to be an irresponsible and not well thought out proposal. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Art. Thank you for all you've done over the years. Yes.
Mr. Chairman and committee members, my name is Wendy Weil. My husband and I have a 24-year-old son who has severe autism and epilepsy. Unfortunately, he has required intensive services since the moment he was born. His condition will be lifelong, and we will predecease him. The entire developmental disability system was developed to be cost-effective. It has checks and balances for the state and protections for consumers. This budget reality is beyond a tipping point. This is an avalanche of human need. And if, as I fear, the Lanterman Act is dissembled and these cuts are enacted, I ask you, where will these people go? There will no longer be group homes, supported living services, state hospitals, or nursing homes. And if you think that we families can sustain all of these human needs, please listen to the echo in this room and in the hallways. This is an avalanche of human need. When you debate with your colleagues, you will need to speak for us. We are depending upon you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Thank you. The courage in this room is absolutely inspirational, and I thank you, everyone, for their comments. My name is Randy Sanford, and I'm the proud and inspired dad of Taylor Sanford, who's sitting in the back. And I'm here on her behalf and I'm speaking for her. Purpose is what gives life meaning. And how do each of us discover our own purpose? I suppose we find inspiration through our church or religious faith. I suppose we find inspiration through exposure to and influence of those we respect. I suppose we find inspiration through education by learning and understanding what we want to stand for and what we don't want to stand for. Most of us draw inspiration from both outside influences and from introspection. Some of us are propelled to our purpose because of a family or child member. How will Taylor and others like her in the severely disabled community among us find their purpose? I submit to you that purpose-driven providers like In Alliance and California Mentor not only help pave the way for Taylor by advocating for her in the community, but are vital in her well-being and in steering her toward her purpose. Leo Roston wrote, "The purpose of life is to matter, to be productive, to be useful, to have it make a difference that you have lived at all. Now is the time in the state of California for perspective. The purpose of government," said Thomas Jefferson, "is to enable the people of a nation to live in safety and happiness." And that is precisely what entities like In Alliance and California Mentor do. I'm not so naive to think that politics don't play a role in which programs get funded and which don't. But John Adams said, "The people who make decisions are the people who bear the consequences of those decisions. Perhaps better decisions will result." There is no doubt that a reallocation of these budget cuts could occur so that they don't affect the most vulnerable among us. I ask the committee, what is your purpose? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Chair. My name is Megan Krieg, and I'm both a former school counselor and college professor of psychology. And after that, I'm also the parent of a 5-year-old autistic son who, in addition, has a lifelong chromosome disorder called isodyscentric 15. And I've been on both sides of the table, where I've been at an IEP where it's determined, what's going to be written and what's going to be provided for other children. And I can tell you from experience that when I am at an IEP now, what I hear is, if it doesn't have to do with his education, his ABCs, then we don't want to hear it, because that's for his in-home program to take care of. It's very important that the functional living skills, the daily living skills that keep children like my son learning how to become functional adults and members of society at the critical stage of development where their brains are now, be supported through the regional center. I can't tell you how much his ABA program, his in-home program, since it started this year, the speech development, he has major issues with elopement, which is escaping, running, bolting. Without the in-home support services, the respite care, it would be, it's overwhelming. The other thing that inspires me so much as I'm standing here is when I hear stories of adults and young adults and adults who are saying that because of these services, I can live independent or semi-independent lives. That is huge. And the reason it's so huge is exactly what the gentleman before said, is down the road, the social impact that taking away teaching functional living skills to these kids and supporting them would have on society would be enormous, and there's going to be a bigger problem down the road. But mostly, I just want to speak as both a parent and one who knows the whole educational system in that way. How much the regional center, the respite and home support, and all the therapies help, and I can't imagine not having that support. It's I don't get to sit down a whole lot as it is. I'm bolting everywhere. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Don Cornejo. I work at Golden Gate Regional Center, where I'm the supported living coordinator. Thank you, everyone here today, for listening so attentively. I also, since I have the opportunity, thank you, Director Delgadillo, for taking on such a difficult task, and I don't envy you, but good luck. I don't want to repeat anything that anyone else has said that can speak to more authority, with more authority. I can speak maybe really from my own direct work. Just want to comment on the trailer bill language, the 15% administrative cap. The 15%, I think, really could only possibly work on an economy of scale, that is, providers that can take advantage of how big they are to maximize their costs. I think that it would not work on small providers. I tried to pencil out for myself what supported living might look like for people moving from, say, a 6-bed level 2 group home, and I honestly could not make the numbers work that would at all provide as sufficient care. Even to support one director supervisor, the program would have to serve well more than 20 individuals coming from a facility like that. And that's even before considering any other types of administrative costs. So my suggestion in the trailer bill language would be to have the 15% cap only apply to the larger agencies that that the other trailer bill language applies to, the one that about the administrative review or audits. That is, please make that change. In the example I gave you, well, in the interest of time, I'll just move on a little bit.
Thank you.
just saying a little bit more about the independent audits, I read the language, and my own thought is there might be really a glaring omission there. If you could perhaps, the suggestion I have might be to add to the scope of that to say that, to the scope of the reviews, that funds will be used for the purpose for which they're authorized, that is, providing the full volume of support that's recommended by the IPP team.
If you've got that in writing down, you can give it to us.
I'll send it tomorrow.
Okay.
Having that language, it might seem obvious, but those of us who are not accountants but do have responsibilities for doing reviews and who work with others likewise who are not accounting professionals but still want to do the best.
And if you could wrap up, please. If you can submit
persuade that, basically, it would be more persuasive to have that stronger language added to that trailer language. Beyond the trailer bill language, my only thought is perhaps some creative deregulation might have broader support out in the general community. Something creative and wise, not just quick. Thank you.
You.
Thank you, Chairman and committee, and everybody that's attended today. My name is Mike Williams. I'm a videographer. And this past year, my life has been impacted with the passing of an uncle and an institution of an aunt who's no longer able to care for my cousin, who for many years would not be able to operate on her own without Pride Industries. And I just ran into, while I'm waiting in line, the lady from Bakersfield a moment ago who actually knows my cousin and has helped out with her being able to live on her own. That's very touching for me, but in the past year I've also, through my friend Megan and seeing her son Alex, I have to admit I've been ignorant, and as most Americans, most Californians are, it's easy to push these things aside and not be aware. But to see the development that's taken place through these programs that have helped people like my cousin or Alex be able to get by and to be able to develop, just seeing this 5-year-old boy develop words and just seeing the growth and the progress of him. I grew up across a street from a facility that was a state institution where kids were shipped off to and cared for. And those kids, for years and years and years and years, through my grade school and high school years, I'd walk through their quarters and become friends with them over the years, but they're still there. These children are now able to be at home, be with friends, family, people that care and love. So you have a chance to make a difference and not cut back these programs. If anything, there needs to be a raise in the funding for these people. If you could just see the day into the lives of the families and the people involved here, it would be an atrocity for this whole thing to even be brought up in the Senate right now. Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Diane Rose, and I stand here today to speak for my daughter, Jennifer Rose, who's 33 and was born with a severe developmental disability and has used regional center services since she was 2.5. I stand in awe of all of the consumers who were here today and told their story and stood here and pleaded for their services. How difficult was that for them to do today? I also stand in awe of the people who worked so hard to put together that Lanterman Act. It is the basis under which all of these services have been created. The Lanterman Act is law. My daughter is served by the law of the Lanterman Act. Today is your choice. Is that law going to stand? Is that law going to be taken away from my daughter and the others that are her peers? That'll be your choice. I believe so much in the Lanterman Act. I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were worried about what our future is. I'm getting older, and she's a grandmother taking care of her grandson. And we said, what's going to happen in our future when we're not here? And we said, if the Lanterman Act is gone and those safety nets are gone, what's going to happen to our children? So we said, what can we do to say this is important to us? So we talked, and then she hung up, and she called me right back. She said, what if we walked from Yuba City to Sacramento with a copy of the Lanterman Act and said this is important. And you know, we mentioned that to people, and it has grown, and we are the Mommy Tsunami, and we're coming. We're leaving Yuba City on the 19th February. We're showing here in the steps of the Capitol on the 22nd. I've given invitations to you to please join us on the Capitol steps. There should be several hundred people with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Patrick Wilson from the Elk Grove Community Training, and I truly feel more than anything, law truly is not. It's not doing much. It's providing less than expecting far too much, I feel. How do you, if you all always need to listen to this, how do you truly want California to work, you know? I mean, it gets how much you ask for. Use your feelings, boys. Come on, lawyers. How would you like to see the United States and all of California work? As sad as the country is, it is to stay together and to suffer so much. And when some start, all programs and jobs should be able to continue together throughout their lives to help all needs of all kinds as much as possible. But as much as me would say for our Heavenly Father, the good Lord honesty, to know if there's a place to get together. Come on, we need to get with it.
Thank you, sir.
Please do not give up our money. Use our value in our lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm Jeff Harbin, and this is my son, Gavin. I don't know if you guys can see him from up there. Gavin has a sensory processing disorder, and because of this, he's extremely hyperactive and unable to self-regulate or focus in order to learn new things. The fact that he did not talk by age 2 is our first clue that something was wrong. We contacted Alta Regional Center, who did numerous assessment tests on Gavin and now has a treatment plan in place through Pride and Joy in El Dorado County, in which he is showing tremendous growth. In the last month, while working with Pride and Joy, his ability to vocalize words has increased to 4 times what it was before he entered the program. They provide us through an individual action plan the tools we need, which we learn to apply in our own household. I brought him here so you can see the face of someone whose future depends on the strength and availability of programs like Pride and Joy and the countless others. I ask you to imagine my son as yours, and I implore you to look not through the eyes of your job title, but as a mother or father of a child with imminent, lifelong disabilities that could easily be avoided through early intervention and an action plan put in place. It wasn't my son's choice to be born this way, but it's your choice now to determine if he stays this way. In closing, the armed forces have a code that at all costs no one gets left behind. So I suggest, as Californians, we adopt that same battle cry.
My name is Rebecca. I live on my own. I have a learning disability. I cannot lose these services for people that have a disability. The governor should not cut us, the ones that have a disability. We cannot afford these things to get cut. I need my Social Security, and my daughter needs it too. I am scared that I will one day wake up and not have nothing. I need our services like Alta Regional Center, TTSR. We need our bus sticker too. I need my health care. Please don't cut us. We need it.
My name's Bill Foreman. I live in Turlock, and I'm here for my daughter who's 5 years old and has autism along with some physical difficulties. And I'm here to She's been in an intensive behavioral therapy program since she was about 2.5 years old. Works 40 hours a week at it. And she's been provided for regional center since she was 10 months old. You have heard from others that intensive behavioral therapy needs to be intensive, and it needs to be done early. There is no substitute for that. And you heard from an 8-year-old young man and a 21-year-old young man who have made great strides in overcoming the difficulties that autism creates. And in them, I see my daughter in 8 years or in 15 years. But my daughter she's made tremendous progress, but she's a work in progress. And she needs the continued funding that will be provided for her with aids, specialized aids into her school in order to make that progress. And I urge you to consider that when you think about this legislation.
I'm speaking on behalf of my son, Michael, who is developmentally disabled, deaf, and has severe autism. For the past 11 years, he's lived and worked in the community with the help of the supported living program. He shares a home with another consumer in a very cost-effective situation. He has a job that he loves. He is a janitor and enjoys it, never misses a day at work. In short, he lives a dignified life to the best of his ability. I'm worried that these cuts will undermine that program that he experiences. And the transfer trauma that he would experience, so to speak, in any change to his living arrangements would be major. How would he experience these changes without panicking and becoming combative or possibly assaultive? The unintended consequences that these changes would bring would ultimately be more costly, both financially and emotionally and socially. He is unable to adapt to a crisis the way the rest of us do. If we have to cut our budget a little, we can make do. But he can't cancel his disability 2 days a week. He can't go without supervision 6 hours a day. He needs the continued service all the time. You as legislators have the responsibility to be the ultimate defenders of these most vulnerable people. You must ensure that these cuts are kept away from the consumers. The whole reason we have this hearing today and that we have DDS is to protect these people. It makes no sense to begin cutting direct services. They must be protected. Thank you for listening.
First, I'd like to thank you so much for your patience and attentiveness going past such a long time here. My name is Sergio Pinto. I'm a service provider that delivers services to children diagnosed with autism. I've been in the field for 15 years, early intervention. I'm not here to talk about the effects of cuts on my staff. However, I acknowledge the difficult task that Governor Brown and the current legislature have ahead of them in attempting to fix the budget. I'm hoping that there won't be a delay in passing the budget this time around, as has happened time and time again. However, the cut of this magnitude is not a fix. Statewide purchase of service standards will affect eligibility for children that otherwise would have the opportunity to make significant gains across functioning. What we have here is a problem, an order of operations problem. It is critical that medical insurance carriers be mandated to cover intervention services that have been shown to have ameliorative effects and rehabilitative effects. This is already the case in over 20 states. In California, this is already the case for occupational therapy and speech services. It is time for empirically validated intervention, such as applied behavior analysis, ABA, to be included. If eligibility is changed on the DDS side and there is no mandate for insurance carrier funding, where does that leave the kids? I don't know why I chose this field except to help people. Maybe it was chosen for me. My son was diagnosed with autism before age 2, displaying such behaviors as spinning objects, having severe tantrums, banging his head on the concrete, and without the ability to identify my wife as Mama. Today, with a little less than 14 months of direct service intervention, he has made significant gains to allow independent participation within a typically developing preschool, engages in meaningful pretend play and interactive play with peers and his 7-year-old sister. I applaud my son and the young boy that spoke to you earlier today for the hard work they have put in. You can see the investment that California has made in these boys and their position to become taxpayers in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Dave Dida. I'm the father of an adult autistic and deaf son. Thanks for the opportunity to come up here. My message is simple. I think it's time that we move beyond looking at the politics of this decision and doing what's right for our fellow man and for all the people that you've heard from today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Guthrie, and I'm from the San Diego area, and I'm representing the people down in the East County at the ARC in San Diego, and I'm also a consumer through Regional Center, and I also live independent. And I should have wrote the letter says attended to you guys, but it's attention, Governor Jerry Brown. I want to talk about the budget cuts and how it may affect our consumers who work in workshops and day programs. We are taxpayers, we vote, we want to live normal life and keep our programs and be successful in life. If our programs are eliminated, what would we do? Where would we go? What is our future? We are loyal in heart. Loyal and hard workers as others and hard workers and Americans. Please let us have our dreams and reality. Sincere, Robert Guthrie. And I also, the guy that shared about the state hospital, I was in the state hospital in 1953 to 59 at Porterville State Hospital, and then I was at Fairview State Hospital from 59 to 61. And I know what the system is like, and I don't want people like that to go into those kind of places where I was in, because I don't have parents around to be able to give me support. I have ARC and Regional Center to give me support. And I truly thank you for letting me be here and come all the way from San Diego just to come up here to let you all know that I vote for each and every one of you because I'm a registered voter. I'm a Republican, and just because I'm a Republican, I think the Republicans and Democrats should be able to work together as a team. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Thanks for coming. We'll give you a voter registration card. Go ahead, Mr. Evers. Go ahead.
I'm Asha Lee. I come from Ventura, Santa Barbara area, and the regional center there services both my twin daughters, who are both unable to speak, and therefore I speak for them. One of them is ambulatory, and the other one is not. So I've been through the whole system. So which note are we going to cut? Which is not essential to the whole symphony of life? It's so important. Even the infant stimulation program, when both my twins went to it in a church nearby, and they gained from it. And then when my husband was in the hospital and we could do nothing about that, they both went into the Lanterman Hospital in Los Angeles. And then when he was better and we became able to stand on our feet, I brought them out of there. At that time, it was the custom to create 6-bedded homes. They were supposed to be better and more economical. and didn't have the atrocities of the big institutions, but we need them as well. I'm not saying cut them out. I needed it. We made the 6-bedded home for 2 of them with mine and 4 other children. And then in time, I realized I wanted my children as near as possible with less of whatever was available. Then I brought them home one by one. Geeta, who could not walk, she went into a home in Santa Barbara and is there and is doing very well and is helped by ARC and other agencies there through the regional center. Gaia, who could walk, I could keep at home because even as we are getting older, we are not able to lift and move them and do all the things that need. Which part of the program for Gaia or for Geeta needs to be cut? Gaia goes in a bus to a program where she receives instruction in how to become part of the community, where she learns to go to shopping centers and walk with people and be able to sit with them without tearing the room apart, without throwing things all the time. Then she comes home in the bus. So if the buses are not there, if the program's not there, then it's very hard. My staff who've helped me for the last 20 years, very dedicated people, were receiving $10 an hour. They didn't get a raise even once. Now they receive $9.57. And there may be more cuts. The hours may be cut. And how will that be sustained? Should I look to moving them both into Lanterman again? I don't want to do that. These girls have been humanized. You cannot imagine what they were like. When they came back from the institutions, they were on 10 drugs. Some to put them to sleep, some to wake them up, some to make them quieter, some to do whatever was compliant behavior possible for people who were taking care of them. They are now on just 2 or 3 drugs. They are able to sit with us and have tea. They are able to go for walks in the community. It's so important to keep their community services there for them and for everyone around. We are getting old. We won't be able to even sustain them. Gaia does live at home with the supportive services. We have a separate area for her. And she could go on that way if the services were there, if the medical was there, and if the hours were not cut, and the payroll, if my staff feel after 20 years of work that there is no more future, that their pay will be even less, and for fewer hours, where it will be harder for them to take care of these children, I don't think it will be sustained. It's really up to all of you to think very carefully of what you do for the people who can't talk for themselves, who cannot ask, who cannot push you. We can't push you either. But it's very important to remain human. We take care of our facilities. You were worried about the fire alarms not being heard and people not being able to respond. These are children who, even if they hear the fire alarm, they will go towards the fire because they are delighted by it, or will cross in front of a car because they don't know danger. So we keep them safe. We make an environment which is stable for them, which makes quality of living possible for them.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I really would pray and hope that you can sustain that. Not just for me, but for all these people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Sandy Soliday, staff to the Alameda County Developmental Disabilities Council. The council consists of school staff, providers, consumers, and family members. So please consider there are 30 board of directors sitting here in spirit on my shoulder. I'm going to very briefly read a letter from one of my council members. It is representative of the council at large. This is from Laura Buccetti. Program Specialist with San Lorenzo Unified. I am a member of the Alameda County Developmental Disabilities Council, and I am writing to share my concerns about the proposed cuts to the Department of Developmental Services. I fear the magnitude of the cut will destroy the integrity of the community support system, result in job losses for over 20,000 people, and threaten the health and safety of over 246,000 residents with developmental disabilities. We understand the gravity of the state's budget crisis. We also understand that cuts need to be made in order to help the state regain its financial footing, and that all programs will experience necessary reductions to this end. We, however, oppose a cut to the size and lack specifics on how those reductions will be made. We need to proceed with extreme caution in recommending cuts of this magnitude to a system that has experienced years of rate freezes and underfunding. And I'd also like to say we vehemently oppose service standards. You cannot cap human need, and you can't ignore it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members. My name is Claudia, and I am Tracy's mom. She is full of life and joy and trapped inside the body of a 41-year-old with the mind of a 6-year-old. For 41 years, I have had the pleasure of caring for, dressing, feeding, bathing, and seeing to her every need. Although I would never complain of the stress or pressure of such demands, it would have been impossible to provide the level of care and community interactions if it were not for the day program that Tracy has attended for 20 years. Maybe you and your peers don't realize this, but people with special needs, they don't retire. They don't go on special vacations, have virtually no optional daily choices as to where, when, or what they will do next. The day programs that California has cared enough to provide funding for over the past years are essential to the well-being and protection of special needs individuals like my Tracy. The proposed budget cuts will threaten the very people that our Governor Brown stated he wanted to protect. Does he not know that in order to provide safe and secure programs, the funding must remain solid? He asked for solutions: park improvements, bike lane expansions, upgrading the living conditions for prisoners, maintaining state-run hospitals that cost 10 times more per consumer than day programs. Are these not viable options to reduce? Why do the proposed cuts fall on the backs of people who can't stand nor speak for themselves? Maybe because they don't have a powerful union in the face of government? A promise is an important thing. The foundation of the state's promise to let my daughter live a simple and safe life is in serious trouble, with the integrity of that promise being sorely abused. Don't break your promise. Keep your word and be accountable to the state's most fragile population. All I know is if I and other parents and care providers don't speak up, our special children, no matter what their age, will be put out on the streets, added to welfare rolls, overload nursing homes, tax the legal system. How is that okay with you or anyone? Thank you for looking through my eyes and through Tracy's eyes. Now do the right thing. I know it's difficult, but pass our passion on to those who matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Ben Lewis. I'm 13 years old, and I go to a great charter school in Placer County. And I was diagnosed with autism 10 years ago. When I was little, I had years of therapy that I would not have had if there were no. I would not be able to be here if the funds were not at the regional center. When I was only 1 year old, I started to have physical therapy to learn how to crawl and walk, and some doctors even said that I might not even be able to run or walk or even crawl. And now I'm on my school's cross-country team, and I'm placing at least in the top 10 at every single meet. And I'm now playing basketball, and it's great. I had a speech therapy when I was 2, so I could learn how to talk. And now I can actually have friends. I can have conversations with my friends, and it's great. When I was 3, I had behavioral therapy for many hours a day, so I could learn to go to school and be a part of my home and community life. And now I'm able to do lots of things like be in plays, play drums, actually play all instruments, and have my own neighborhood business where I take care of dogs when they're not home, when the parents aren't home, not the dogs. If there had been no funds for the regional center when I was little, I would not have been able to receive the right therapy and to do the things that I can do on my own now. I would still need lots of therapies and support throughout my life that I don't need now. If you cut the funds to kids like me, you're cutting off opportunities they have, choices in their lives, and independence for them. Their quality will be reduced. There are still many things that were difficult for me. I'm very shy, and I just try to get through these challenges. Just please give other kids a chance that I've had too, and don't take the. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm really shy.
Yeah, not bad for someone who's shy. I'm not sure if you were walking the parents or the dogs, though. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Joe Hawkes, advocate for people with disabilities and also worker in community-based services. As an advocate, I'd like to ask Director Delgadillo, as the top advocate in California, to stand with the 250,000 adults with or people with disabilities and their advocates and oppose this number. I mean, this number is just too high. Outside of that, as an employee, the cuts that have already gone through the last 2 years of 4.25, there have been major consequences with it. The consequences to the people with disabilities and to the workers in the system. To continue that and to increase that cut by another $530 million is just going to be devastating.
Thank you.
I have a 4-page. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I have a 4-page letter that I'm not going to read, but I'll give you important parts of it. I'll leave the letter for you guys to read later.
That'd be great.
My name's Rhonda Ransdell. I have a daughter that's 13 years old. She was diagnosed at 3 years old with autism spectrum disorder. Our family has worked tirelessly to provide her with the ABA therapy in home, at the school placement, medical intervention, and the loving support that she needs. I urge you as a committee to reject the $750 million amount as cuts for DDS. Instead, I think that we should have some kind of reduction rather than an elimination. I think that's a little more realistic. I've been blessed in my life to known people that have family members that were alive before the Lanterman Act. And the reason that I say that I'm blessed with them is because they make a very good point to me now. When I was younger, a friend of my mother's sent her daughter Diana to be evaluated. She went to Sonoma State Hospital. She went there when she was 3. That was before I was born. She's still there. When I see her mother and her mother sees my daughter, I see the look in her eye, and I see how sad she is for her own child because she was born at the wrong time. She wasn't born like my child was when she was able to get services. We worked tirelessly for my child to have her services so she can go to school and be a part of her community. If the Lanterman Act is suspended and the home program portion that Alta Regional Center provides for my child are not available, she won't be able to go to the school placement because at home is where we teach her the skills so she can be successful at school. Because she's never been the type of kid that would fit into a special day type of class because she is too high functioning for that, but she can't quite go to the regular ed class by herself, so she needs a one-on-one aid with her at all times for her to be successful. We've worked hard at that, and she is successful at that. She will have to stay home with me if I don't have those hours that we work on at home, because she would not be safe or successful in the school placement if we didn't have that amount. She needs to be around the typical aides because she does imitate. what the other kids do. She's come a long way, but she has much more to go, and so do many more children. Will the state of California cancel their promise to my daughter Morgan? Will the next generation of ASD children go by the way of the past? Will we need to open more Sonoma State's hospital? Where will this explosion of ASD kids go? What will happen to them when their little behaviors now become big behaviors when they become adults? What happens when their parents get older and can't take care of them? What if one of the parents died prematurely? Are the siblings going to be able to watch these children? There are so many parents like me that want to stay home and watch their children, but they can't do it without IPPs. They can't do it without respite service. They can't do it without support. So I urge that we keep these services in place. We parents of kids with autism feel like we have guns to our heads. We are in a race with the clock. Our children's brains are forming every minute of every day. They will be filled with fuzziness, buried in repetitive behaviors, stuck in time, or even worse, regressing. If they are not given the chance to be taught how to live, this cannot be done by the family alone because it's physically impossible to do the 24/7 that these kids need. Please work toward a more realistic solution to the budget challenges we face here in California. This proposed solution may appear to have saved in the short term, but it will cost much, much more for the next generations. I ask you to not only think of my daughter, but think of the other ASD kids that are not yet born. This epidemic is not going to stop. And please, please think of Diana. She's the young girl that's been in that home in Sonoma State Hospital for 40-plus years. If she could, she would tell you, I wish I could live with my family. And if I were to bring her mother here to testify, she would plead with you. Please don't force any more to live as my daughter has been for the last 40-plus years. Because that's what these cuts will do. It will cause more of that. Thanks.
Thank you for extending your time to hear all of us. It's the darkest hour before the dawn, and I feel like there's something dark and sinister lurking behind this proposal. The proposal, I have 24/7 charge over my daughter, and to think that an institution could do that better than I can when she copies my behavior, and I have the greatest concern for her over anyone. It hurts me back to 25 years ago when a doctor suggested she be aborted than to deal with her, and I made a conscientious choice then to take responsibility for my daughter. I ask you to search and discern what is the climate going on here. Stand with me in conscience, and let's look forward to a very bright dawn, bringing everything behind us forward and a great promise for California.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Wells. I'm 28 and I live with cerebral palsy. I was diagnosed at the age of 14 months. They told my parents that I wouldn't sit up, that I wouldn't talk, I wouldn't even go to school. If I did, I wouldn't learn how to read or write or anything. Well, I proved them wrong, obviously, and I'm now in college, and I also got in 2002 my legal assistant certification through a mail-in course. So I'm just here to tell you my mom and dad fought for me, and my mom has died, but I am her legacy, and I'm telling you that if she were here today, she would have been up here like at 7:30 this morning waiting for you. So I just want to tell you, when you do, these are proposed budget cuts. I do work at Strategies to Empower People in Yuba City. I am their office assistant, and so I really enjoy working. I will be institutionalized if this goes through, because quite frankly, cerebral palsy, you can't get over it. You will always have it. And I am confined to my wheelchair, but there's a great saying, and someone once said, a mind is a powerful thing to waste. And I do not want to waste my mind just because my body is confined to a wheelchair. So when you think of the statistics and numbers, remember my face and remember all of these people's faces that you've seen today, please. And you said earlier that there were about 50 or 60 people in the hall. There was over 100, maybe 150. And I know you won't be able to see them all today, but they we're here, and they're quite supporters of what we all say. So please remember them as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Your mom would be proud of you.
Hi, my name is Narin Bowles. Thanks for letting me talk to you today. Your cuts right now is they've already cut my hours back considerably. And if you cut them some more, it's gonna make it quite difficult to everyday life for everybody that's going through the same thing. And so I'm just saying, think about the people that you're serving. And if you do this, I think we're just going backwards, not forwards. And one more thing about the service standards. If you guys want to try the service standards, why don't you try it on the prisoners, the people in prison, and see how they like it. I know it's not on, and just give it to them and see how they like the service standards, because we brought this up before in 2001. Everybody's needs are totally different. Everybody's needs are not the same. Everybody has different day-to-day lives, and everybody's not the same thing. That's what you guys think it's going to be, but it's not. That's not the way to be. So rethink the service standards. Everybody lives quality lives, and I've been living on my own since '85, and that's what I want to continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Valerie Gibbs. I live in Phoenix, California. I work in Central Scan. I get employed by BTE. Since I have been here, I have not been depressed like I was. When I wasn't working, I'm happy now. I love my work in our community. Love my job, co-workers, job coach, and everyone else in QC, Central Scan. If our jobs and funds gets cut, that allows us to work in our wonderful community. It will put me back in depression. Once again, this job keeps me happy. Also keeps my mind off of bad things and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and testifying. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Rose Coleman, and I just want to say that due to the fear of the budget cuts, last year I had an operation where I had to have female surgery due to the fear of the budget cuts. This year, my doctor thinks I've developed a permanent ulcer, so choose life before death, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rose.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Benage from People's Care, and we provide support services to people with developmental disabilities in the Southern California area. I'm here on behalf of the 400 people we provide support to who want and deserve quality services. By extending the 4.25% cut, adding a 15% cap, and additional POS reductions, you will be essentially destroying the quality services that these individuals have a right to receive. We have submitted additional written testimony that I hope you take an opportunity to review and consider before your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Heidi Spalding, and I go to the Alive program in Concord.
Hello, my name is Heidi Spalding, and I go to the Alive program in Concord.
The Lanham Act is a California state law that promises services and support to people with developmental disabilities and their families.
The Lanterman Act is a California state law that promises services and supports to people with developmental disabilities and their families.
Because of this law, we are able to live productive lives our choosing.
Because of this law, we are able to live productive lives of our choosing.
Do not make us domestic refugees.
Do not make us domestic refugees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bruce Baginski, and I also go to the Alive program in Concord. And I have been listening to so many people pretty much saying the same thing I've been thinking. There's a lot of services I have. I actually have Regional Center and SSI, Housing Authority, major things. And it would create a domino effect. If these cuts continue to happen, it would create a domino effect. And I don't know where I'd be living, and for that matter, how I would be paying for where I would live. So that's why it makes no sense. So I would stay away from cutting any more money from any services for the disabled. And I also wonder if people who are making the cuts are even putting their own families or themselves on their own mind. Are they able to put themselves in other people's shoes? Because they wouldn't have these services if they were one of us. So that's all I can say for now. So.
Thanks, Bruce. Nice to see you.
Hi, my name's Emil Chusmar. I attend the Life program every day. These cuts are going to affect my life, and they need to stop.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joseph Isaac. I'm a consumer at the Live program. It's a day program in Concord, and my disability is Asperger's syndrome. I work and pay taxes and live on my own. The Alive program benefits me and my girlfriend Darlene, to the degree that it helps to keep us both busy and stimulated during the daytime, doing things that we and other people with disabilities need, and we need for it to remain open to keep us living our lives to the best and the fullest. It is my hope and prayers. It is my hope and prayers that the legislators will consider this and not cut these programs, even if they don't know any disabled people personally. Please don't continue to cut our lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kiera. I was born with CP. When I was diagnosed, my family was told I would never walk, talk, or hold my head up. They were told I would be a vegetable. Well, today I'm here, not only as a voice for myself, but as a voice for over 250 people who sadly couldn't be here today. I've given you their written testimonies, and I ask that you consider them before making your decision. As I've fought all my life, I am fighting now. Please hear me. Be my hero. Don't take away our freedom. Don't take away our chance to live the lives of our choosing.
Thank you, Karen.
Hi, my name is Audra, and I have cerebral palsy.
Hi, my name is Audra, and I have cerebral palsy.
I am here to talk about respite care.
I'm here to talk about respite care.
Without the respite care my family receives, my mom would have to quit her job and take care of me 24/7.
Without respite care my family receives, my mom would have to quit her job and take care of me 24/7.
My life is more than just a babysitting job.
My life is more than just a babysitting job.
So if you could reconsider these cuts, that would be great.
So if you could reconsider these cuts, that would be great.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Hi, my name is Brianne Summerall. I'm an active woman with Williams syndrome. It affects every aspect of my life, including transportation. It limits my ability to get a driver's license because of my disability. That would cause a trickle-down effect. Because I work, I wouldn't be able to pay taxes or have money to shop with. That would help to stimulate the economy. I am a teacher assistant at a church. I work with children. I also work at a day program called Live. I am a receptionist there. I answer phones. I also use it to get to my counseling appointments. It allows me to live the life of my choosing and handle responsibility and being independent. That would include paying bills, shopping for groceries, also for my pets and clothes. This is one part of my services that I desperately need, and cutting it would be devastating to my life. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Hi, my name is Nicole. I have a developmental disability. I use a lot of services and they are my very life. With them, I am able to contribute to my local community. I can vote, shop, and experience things you might take for granted through my day program. Without these services, I would have nothing. I would be nothing. The thing that scares me the most, however, is the proposed cuts to my home services. Currently, I live on my own and want to keep that way. The proposed cuts to SLS, ILS, IHSS, and in-home threaten to take everything from me. Without help, I won't be able to do things as simple as eat or take a bath. I promise you that if these cuts go through in their current form, you will have one hungry and stinky constituent in your office every day, demanding the basic help I need to live. Please remember these cuts don't just threaten my ability to live alone and my quality of life. They threaten my ability to live, to simply live. Please cut from things, not people.
Thank you, Nicole. You won't be stinky. And since you're a constituent, I know which office you're talking about.
Hi, my name is Anna Stinger, and I want to say thank you for staying here and listening to all these people that I serve and I love. I have a nephew who's 2. His name is Garrett. He couldn't be here today because he's one of 4, a twin, and I love him very much and hear his voice for me today. Also, my brother-in-law, he attended the Alive program. That's how I got tangled up with these crazy people here. For 15 years. He's at home in a bed. He's been there since August. We have no hope that he will ever get out of it. He has a pressure sore, bigger than, it's bad. So anyway, in short, thank you for listening to us, and you're our voice. Please don't cut us.
Thanks, Anna.
Hi, my name is Kim, and I have cerebral palsy.
Hi, my name is Kim, and I have cerebral palsy.
And it's affects every aspect of my life.
And it affects every aspect of life, including my ability to speak a lot of the time. I'm also pretty nervous, so I asked Josh to help me today.
That's a first.
It actually is. Please stop and hold in this mad dash to pass a budget. We are people, not numbers. But in talking numbers, when you say you're going to cut $750 million or 20% from the system, you're actually cutting 20% from my life, as well as every other Californian with a developmental disability too. I was born into an institution, and I wouldn't wish that fate on anyone, even the people that I don't like.
No, I wouldn't hurt.
I live alone with the help of SLS and IHSS. I can't imagine how I can continue to do so if these cuts go through.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Please stop taking away these cuts.
Please stop taking away our lives, these cuts. Please preserve the promise of the Lanterman Act. Please preserve our lives. Please be our voice and vote no on these cuts when the time comes. They will destroy our lives.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks, Josh. That's it. We've just got one line.
Hello, my name is Holland. I'm Dennis McRae. I'm a client of the Regional Center of the East Bay, and I go to Futures Explored Incorporated in Lafayette, which is a wonderful program. It helps me get out in the community. With Futures, without the Futures and the Regional Center's support, I would not be in that program. I wouldn't be as independent as I am today. So I thank Futures and the Regional Center for all that they do for me. If those programs were cut, I don't know what my life would be like. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Preeti Chan and I am disabled. I'm just speaking from the bottom of my heart that you stop this budget cuts because we need our programs, we need support, and we need to be strong enough to have our programs open. And I'm speaking from my heart because God is looking out from us. We are normal as everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm with Pride, and we don't want no cuts for that, and we wanted to keep our cuts. But my name is Jonathan Luce, and I'm with Pride, and I live with Services, and I'm with Choices. Please don't do our cuts. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Frank Keith. I'm with Progressive Employment Services. And you guys do these cuts, there's no way I can keep going on with my business I started, with my recycle business I started. Ever since I started it, they have helped me out a lot. So please do not do our cuts. Thank you.
Thank you. That's our last speaker. I want to thank the sergeants for being such good traffic cops, and thanks for adjusting to the chair. Staff, we obviously have a lot of work to do. I know all of you went in this line of work to help the clients. So in this very challenging, daunting time, I actually want to clarify one thing. I said earlier that all three of us asked for this committee, and that's not entirely true. For a long time, I told the pro tem I really didn't want to be here because I knew this would be painful and difficult, but then I got a guilty conscience, and I'm glad I did. So, this is going to be, as you know, better than I, an amazing experience. So I appreciate all of your commitment, all of your careers. When you're done with your careers, I hope you'll look back at this moment and think that we really did something remarkable under the circumstances. Also, the language that we'll work with you over the weekend is important. So, to everyone who came, thank you. Your voice will be heard. We'll do everything I can. I know I speak for Senator Emerson and Senator Alquist that we're very moved by the hearing today, and we will do all that we can do under very difficult circumstances. We're adjourned.